What is up, everyone? Chris Manning here from the Locked On Cavs podcast with my co-host Evan Dammarell. On today's show, it is Summer League 101. We're going to look at the Cavs roster for Summer League, headlined by first-round pick Ochai Agbaji, and overall in this show because it's Summer League time, and that's where we're at in the season. I want to thank you, by the way, for making the Locked On Cavs your first listen every day. Remember, we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by Arcade 1UP. Locked On Cavs is partnering with Arcade 1UP to give away 3 free NBA JAM Shaq machines. That's right, 3. These are the guys known for making the incredible retro 3/4 scale at-home arcade games like Pac-Man, Golden Tee, and many more. Enter to win on Arcade 1UP /LockedOn. That's Arcade 1UP /LockedOn for your chance to win one. All right, today's the music you're on the way in, at least in audio form, is from our friends at Astro Radio. Check them out on Apple Music or Spotify. I'm Chris Manning, covering the Cavs for places like SB Nation, Sphere of the Sword, and Dime on UPROXX. My co-host, Evan Dammarell, is the man in charge over at Facebook's Right Down Euclid. He has that nice hat on. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you haven't already, Evan, it's Summer League time. We should note at the top that there's still no Colin Sexton movement.
There
is
not, and I think the reason why we haven't heard any formal transactions be announced on the Cavs end, or there being any media avail for like Darius Garland and etc. So,
yes, there's also the seems like the DeAndre Ayton thing could be like in terms of that cap space. Like there's just a lot of moving parts, and Colin is being stuck in the backlog of all of that. So if something happens over the weekend, perhaps we'll have to record about it then. But we have no new real updates on the Colin Sexton of it all.
I'm just going to announce the news when I am out for my anniversary tomorrow evening, and I'm just like, I gotta go. I gotta do it for the content.
If you do that, number one, I will do the work for you, find you, and then with your better half, slap you. Is what I will do.
She isn't that strong. She tried to slap me once and ended up hurting her own hand. So
guess what? Teaming up, me and your better half, Evan. That's what I'm doing.
All right, Chris. I get your wife in my corner, and she'll mess all 3 of us up.
Nah, we're in the process of doing something very fun. So guess what? It's Chris and Leanne get a golden doodle season. So you know what?
What?
Yeah, official.
I'm so jealous.
Yeah, well, we will see. More to come if we get an
official. We'll call him Locky, the official Locked On Cavs mascot dog.
We already have a boy and a girl name picked out. It's very exciting stuff.
Oh boy, it's like a baby.
But like much, I'm not gonna be ready to be a father. All right, let's talk about Summer League. Evan, this roster is headlined by Ochai Agbaji.
Yeah, I sent you the idea of this being Ochai's 11. And
we're gonna roll with that actually. SEOB Ochai and then like parentheses Agbaji's 11. So this is for him. He's not like a classic Summer League guy who's just gonna like play with the ball in his hands and take shots. He, I guess, let's play this clip. Well, so let's play this clip. We have some clips from some media availability.
I'm gonna say after we play the clip, because he could have a Summer League game where I'll just say bombs 7 3-pointers and makes them.
Yes, but like what that looks like will be interesting. So we have clips today from 3 guys. So it's Ochai Agbaji, Luke Travers, and Isaiah Mobley. So we'll talk about them. But here's the clip from Ochai Agbaji, his media availability from last week at this point.
Really just, it's going out there hooping kind of like an AAU tournament. Go out there, have fun. This is a time, where guys, gel and get together and be successful and win. So I'm just trying to be a part of that.
Do you have something you're going to concentrate on, like to learn or to, some part of your game? Or no?
Not really. I would say anything. Yeah. Or anything and everything in my game. Just being a good leader, being out there, having a defensive presence, I think is the biggest thing, which is going to find my way to the court, once the real season comes. So,
do you feel like this is a chance though to sort of get a head start on that leadership?
Yeah, no, of course. It's just getting a foot in the door as far as being a leader, being vocal, and coming out of my comfort zone to being a leader at this level. Really, just being an offensive threat, being that shooter, spacing the floor, complimenting other guys well, playing off the pick and roll, having the ball in my hands a lot more than I did at Kansas. Just getting comfortable to playing at this level and playing at this pace.
So, Evan, what are your expectations for Agbaji? Like, when you're thinking about what he had to say there, what you could think about what he's going to look, what are you expecting to see from the Cavs first-round pick in Summer League?
So, of the two media availabilities, Cavs Summer League head coach Mike Garrity spoke in the second one. He did mention putting the ball in Agbaji's hands a little bit, kind of maybe using him as a connector piece or a secondary playmaker in certain scenarios, maybe letting him initiate the offense at times, because this is Summer League. There are 5 glorified exhibitions, could be more than 5, depending on how the tournament goes for the Cavs.
Don't think the Cavs are going to be there that long. I don't think the expectation from them internally is that they're going to be there that long.
No. So this is player development. Like, I think some people noticed, like, Isaac Okoro and Lamar Stevens were joining the team on the flight. It wouldn't surprise me the Cavs had like a mini off-season camp with some of the guys there, just kind of like gel and get to know some of the people too, like they did last summer, and then just stuff like that too. And so it's more just player development opportunities for the Cavs. Maybe some of these guys, like Arjen Emmard talked a little bit, like he talked about how he actually was a part of the pre-draft process with Isaiah Mobley last year, and Nembhard came out, and also like he knows Agbaji pretty well from their time together facing each other at TCU and Kansas. So like in terms of Agbaji, I expect maybe we'll see a little bit of playmaking, but I don't expect much. But this is just going to be an opportunity to see how comfortable he looks at the NBA level in terms of shooting. I know people were like overreacting to the Chet Holmgren games, who he has been flat out dominant at times. But
or me reacting to Kenneth Lofton Jr. being an absolute truck.
Oh yeah, no, Kenny Lofton Jr. is a thick king, and we stand thick kings on this podcast. Right. But I mean, it's really easy to overreact to summer league games. So like I said, Agbaji could bomb 7 3-pointers and go like 7 of 7 from 3-point range, but that likely won't translate to the regular season right away. But it gives you a glimpse of what his potential could be if he stays on the right path. Because folks, let us not forget, Dylan Windler pulled up from almost half court in Salt Lake City for the Cavs and bombed it from 3. And we know how the Dylan Windler story sadly goes at this point. So I don't want people to think like, oh, Agbaji's going to be like a day one starter for the Cavs. I think he'll be in the rotation. I think there's going to be nights he gets DNP coaches' decisions if it's a bigger game, if maybe they need to like switch things up rotation wise too. But this is just a good opportunity to get a glimpse of where he's at as a player coming out of Kansas, where he kind of fits with some of these NBA players, and also just maybe we get a little bit of an idea of what the Cavs might try to do with him during his rookie season. Like last year, we saw Point Okoro for a little bit, and that didn't really work, and that kind of died in Vegas. It didn't come back with him to Cleveland. So there's some stuff the Cavs could try. That's kind of what they're going to do in Summer League. Like last year, they went 2-3 in Summer League play last season. So, I mean, if you get the same record, that's fine. But yeah, it's 5 exhibitions, 5 opportunities just to gel, get people in the system and more acquainted with the system, and just kind of evaluate what you have in some of your younger players, and also just guys who may not play much, if at all, especially like in Arjen Emmard's case, but like Agbaji.
They're G League. They might be some of these guys are G League guys.
Some of these guys, a lot of these guys are G League guys, other than Agbaji, like who's probably the only guaranteed rotation piece on the roster in Summer League. So it's an opportunity for a lot of guys to showcase their talents, but Agbaji, it just kind of gives you an idea of, like he said, he's like, it's like pickup hoops, it's like street ball, it's like AAU circuit situations where like it's not, I mean, like, yeah, there's going to be serious moments and teams will tighten up a lot in certain scenarios, but like it's a scrimmage. He's not going to try and get hurt out there. The Cavs aren't going to try and get him hurt out there. Like they could realistically shut him down after like 2 games if they absolutely wanted to as well. So like there's a lot of variables, a lot of factors. You just want to get him acclimated in your system. The best way to do it, other than playing the same guys at Cleveland Clinic courts, is playing one of 4 other teams or 5 other teams out there.
Yeah, and talking to some people that have seen him play so far, I think like he's been described as polished. He's been described as a detailed learner. I think they want him to hunt more is kind of the expectation I've got from talking to some people. So we'll see what he looks like. I'm very curious to see like what the structure with him looks like. And it's
Garrity said he's very mature. That's the one thing he said.
And Garrity, as a guy to coach this team, is a player development guy. They put their player development guy coaching this team. Makes a lot of sense. JJ Outlaw has a similar role, and I believe he coached the team last year. And Dan Giroux, the Cleveland Charge coach, is on the staff as well. So like they have a very player development focused group going to Vegas, and that makes sense for Agbaji. He is not the guy that I think we should be. I think like there are other guys, and we'll talk about Isaiah Mobley and Arjen Emmard, I think, in segment 2. But those are kind of the more guys I think we should put on, and maybe some of the G League project guys as well. Put them in a scope and kind of think about this. But I think
those are the guys I'll be taking notes on more intensely. I think like Agbaji, yes, I will be paying attention to when they play San Antonio this evening, since this is Friday's episode. But I'm not going to be taking too much stock from it too, because again, it's a glorified scrimmage and the defenses and systems and schematics are a hell of a lot different compared to now and then what's down the line, because also the level of talent's at like a completely different level when the games actually count.
Yeah, like I think Summer League talent is like at a higher level than like G League talent.
They're better than me, I'll say that, but
yes, but like in terms of like rating it on the professional scale, I think it is like higher than the G League, but there's like the game planning is different. The environment is different. AAU and just like the constant flow of games is very different. Like it's a very different structure, and it is just like, let's see who's talented and who's not. Like that is ultimately like part of the purpose of Summer League, in addition to like it being a business enterprise where they like get to host games in Vegas and do all of that. All right, after the break though, let's talk about Arjen Emmard first, and then we'll talk about Isaiah Mobley. Arjen Emmard's like weirdly, Evan, to me, a guy that I am like fascinated to see how they approach him on his second two-way year. But before we get into Nembhard and Mobley, you're going to tell everyone about Arcade 1UP.
You're absolutely correct, my man. We got big news here at Locked On Cavs. The one, the only NBA Jam is back with Arcade 1UP, the leader in at-home retro arcade games. And they're not only bringing back the best game ever, but they made it bigger than ever before with, wait for it, Shaq Edition machine. People are obsessed with NBA Jam, and I'm thrilled to tell our listeners that you can once again play hoops with NBA legends in this arcade classic. Jump clear across the court and set the ball on fire in one of the first sports games ever to feature real and digitized NBA licensed teams. No fouls, no free throws, and no quarters required. You can compete with friends and family all through their new Wi-Fi leaderboards, making you more connected than ever before. You can pre-order now from arcade1up.com. That's arcade1up.com for an estimated early September ship date. Arcade 1UP is the place for fun, by the way. They've got everything from and more classics, including Golden Tee, Mortal Kombat. I even saw they had a Street Fighter cabinet I'm thinking about picking up myself, actually, and many others just starting at $399. Also, folks, check this out. We and at the network and Locked On Cavs in general, giving away an NBA JAM Shaq Edition machine to a Locked On listener. Enter for a chance to win a game console for your man cave at arcade1up.com. That's arcade1up.com/locked on. You have until today, July 8th, to enter to win NBA JAM Shaq Edition. The system itself, I don't know if it's Shaq's head, that'd be pretty cool. But don't miss out. Enter today. Who are you going to play with? Again, folks, I say this all the time. If you're playing the Bulls, plays the Pistons, the game is coded for the Pistons to always win.
All right, we're back here in Locked On Cavs. I'm Chris Manning. That's Evan Dammarell. Let's talk about Arjen Emmard. Signed back to the Cavs on another two-way contract.
Can I ask you before we break it down?
Yes.
Are you a fan of them bringing him back on another two-way? I saw some people had some trepidations and reservations, but I personally don't dislike it because he's like a bigger wing that can be like a good, not great point forward for you and like emergency depth in the same vein as like Lamar Stevens and Dean Wade. Like he can't shoot at all, but he brings you something like in terms of playmaking and interior scoring and defense. And like there's something there. And I think holding on to that is definitely worthwhile. But how do you feel about him?
So he's a Cavs type. Like he fits the Cavs type, which is like these longer.
He fits the mold of what the Cavs are trying to like blend together.
The Cavs have a type, and if you ask them about it, they will tell you it's like longer, bigger types of guys. Like they want guys that like they feel like there is like an inefficiency, I think, in the guys that they could then develop with some of these limitations in their game, like figuring out an Nembhard shot. I'm fine with it. I think like you would trust. I think he was with the team so much last year due to the COVID stuff and some of the injury stuff that he basically was like used as a backup for the main roster and not really. He played like 14 games in the G League. That's not like a ton of games for what I think you would hope to get him reps and get him experience doing stuff. Like he was really a depth piece last year more than he was like a two-way guy. Like he skewed more towards depth than not. And I think if the guys that see him every day, I would trust that they feel like there's something there. Whether there's like Bickerstaff, Garrity, Jij Outlaw, and Tony Lang, like those guys looking at him and saying like, we believe there's something here. Let's bring him back. And there's a reason they extended him a qualifying and it got done. Like there's a reason that Brandon Goodwin like is on their Summer League roster, that they didn't bring back Moses Brown. Like they clearly felt better about Nembhard than they did to other guys. The thing I think about Nembhard,
How are those two up to as you talk?
Don't know. I think Moses Brown is at least still free agent, but I think the thing with Nembhard is that I want to see what he looks like kind of playing in more of the role that he won the NBA. When you saw what he did in the G League and what like that kind of looked like, it was very much like very high usage offensive role, getting up shots, like doing stuff with the ball in his hands. That's not going to be what his role is to succeed in the NBA. And his NBA minutes were so limited that like I don't take anything really away from those, and then we obviously don't get to see practice.
Yeah.
So like it's hard for us to evaluate him. I think like if this is the start of like maybe he's probably due to injury and stuff gonna spend some time at the NBA level as a backup at times. Like that wouldn't surprise me. But if you could get him like 25 G League games, if they can have a better roster and he can get some real development down there, that seems like a win. And I'm curious to see what he looks like at Summer League and see how he looks physically. I think him and Agbaji is like a fun, like very like not offensive oriented, but fun, in a weird way, wing duo to run with in Summer League.
It is an interesting dynamic. You could play them at the 1 and 2. Honestly, like Nembhard. Nembhard is a player that intrigues me. I think some people, like you said, are more out on him just based on his body of work with the Cavs, and I think you need to more so break it down what he's done with the Charge, and he's done a lot of really good things with the Charge down there at the Wolstein Center and whenever they're on the road. So I don't hate the Nembhard pickup, and I agree with everything you said, and the fact that he could be like a rotation piece, and like I not like where he's going to be a staple of Cleveland's rotation, but like a quality third depth option, kind of in the similar vein to Dean Wade or Lamar Stevens. And you just kind of like keep utilizing the Charge in this way. Like I think Isaiah Mobley is going to be like a possibly great to possibly serviceable rotation piece. Like he's one of the more higher end pieces that could develop with the Charge at this point. But in terms of the UDFAs that they've assembled, whether it's Wade, Stevens, Nembhard, like the Cavs clearly have a type, like you said. And Nembhard does fit that bill, but I think he has the potential to like fit that mold as well, where like, let's say the Cavs are just resting players or they're dealing with injuries or the pandemic is unfortunately still a thing. And they tap on Arjen Emmard to just say like, hey, we need you to play 15, 20, 25 minutes tonight. Like, I don't think he's going to absolutely self-combust on the floor. Like I keep saying this about a lot of these guys. But because of the familiarity he has with the system, because of the fact that like he knows who he is and what he is as a player, and he doesn't try to play beyond what his limitations and abilities are, that's kind of fun. And I'm excited to see kind of what he brings to the table in Summer League, because he does seem like a good complement for some of the players on this roster, especially Agbaji, Mobley, and even Luke Travers, who we may touch on a little bit too.
Yo, we're going to talk about Luke Travers because I think him as as a development play is worth discussing. Let's talk. Let's talk very quickly about Isaiah. Well, let's talk just a little bit about Isaiah Mobley here, because I think he's going to be like pretty featured in what they do offensively. I think he's going to get it's from talking to people about it and just like thinking about what this roster looks like. I wouldn't surprised if he gets some run just to like run the offense out of the top of the key and do some passing stuff out of there, because like this team doesn't have like a traditional bring the ball up point guard kind of player. I think he's going to get a chance to do some stuff. I think he's going to be one of their more featured guys as we look at Summer League. And on that note, here's Isaiah Mobley talking at his media availability. Let's do that.
To me, like they want me to be able to space the floor, guard multiple positions, and then be a playmaker. Get guys like Evan, Jay, and like it starts in Summer League. Put me in positions to make passes is something I really feel comfortable doing, and also just hit open shots to open up the floor and continue to help the team. Really help the team in multiple dimensions, both defensively and offensively, making plays. Pushing the ball off the rebound, hitting open shots, and then also like leadership. I feel like I have a good basketball IQ, and I can help guys out, and as well as learn while I'm here.
Evan is interesting to me just because like I think he's going to get some run, and I'm curious to see what his development path is going to look like, and I think that does start in Las Vegas.
I do think it does start in Las Vegas. I think it'll continue with the Charge. Like I said, I think some folks were kind of incorrectly guesstimating that the Cavs would sign him to be like that third big behind either Kevin Love or whomever.
Well, to be Jared Allen's backup. It was like one of the
Jared Allen's primary backup.
Theories thrown out there, yeah.
But he could play 4 or 5, and like he said, like he wants to support Jared Allen and his brother Evan Mobley like long term as well. But like he needs time to season, he needs time to develop. They're like, yes, he was promised early by the Cavs into the pre-draft process, like he was their guy, and that's kind of why he didn't work out for many teams. Like he talked to teams, like he claimed during his media availability, but At the same time, like, I'm interested to see what he provides. Like, I think the shooting is a real, like, the shooting touch is a real thing. I think the playmaking, just like from the elbow, is a real thing. Maybe they run some of the action that they run with Evan just to kind of maybe get him familiar with what the Cavs are kind of looking for in the big spot at that spot a little bit. I think the rebounding and defense is there as well. Like, Isaiah Mobley intrigues the heck out of me. And I think he, like I said, could be like a great to possibly serviceable rotation piece for the Cavs, where he can be one of the primary backups behind Jared Allen or his younger brother as well. Just like that's a smart thing on the Cavs part to kind of invest onto your key pieces. And then just obviously maybe you add rotation guys like that's why you bring in Robin Lopez. Maybe you have another veteran just in case, like Isaiah Mobley still isn't quite ready, not this season, but possibly next season.
Yeah. I mean, he's on a 2-way contract. Like the plan is, unless he like there are ways the roster could change in some
like Lamar Stevens was on a 2-way deal but never played for the Charge. Isaiah Mobley could have a similar path, but I don't see it with just how full Cleveland's rotation is this year.
Well, that's what I was getting at. Like, if you just look at the structure of the contracts and you look at like what they could have to waive to clear a roster spot and convert his contract, it's not just like the cleanest thing to do. You could do it if depending on your tax situation and if he really comes out looking great, but it's tricky. I think he feels like I think we laid this out when we talked about him earlier. I think he makes a lot of sense as 2-way this year. If you believe in his development, he gets a lot of G League time, maybe some NBA time, and then he could maybe take over that Robin Lopez spot in a year from now. That to me feels like but I think he's going to get a chance to do some stuff in Summer League. And, like there's other guys like Charge guys and G League guys I know that are kind of interesting. And there's some guys I think they would like to bring into the Charge organization next year. Yeah. But I think like it's like Mobley, Nembhard, and Agbaji are probably the 3 guys we're kind of most thinking about. All right, after the break, let's talk about Luke Travers. The Billy from Stranger Things lookalike, the guy with a barbed wire tattoo and the mullet. But first, going to tell everyone about our friends at BetOnline.net. BetOnline.net is your number one source for your betting needs and sports info. Find all of the latest sports developments, league reviews, news, and more, including the Major League Baseball season that is ongoing. Nolan Jones coming up to the Guardians. Very interesting stuff. BetOnline is your continued source for your sports wagering information, including live betting, esports scores, and more. BetOnline is the fastest, and easiest way to check in all of your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. Evan, for instance, they have championship odds for next year. The Celtics right now are the favorites at plus 600. The Bucks are next at plus 625. The Suns are also at plus 625. The Golden State Warriors are at plus 650. The Clippers are at plus 700. And the team we cover here, the Cleveland Cavaliers, are at plus 10,000. The same odds as teams like as the Utah Jazz as of right now. So make of that what you will. Head to BetOnline. Head to BetOnline.net today. That's BetOnline. That's where the game starts. All right, last segment here in Locked On Cavs. I'm Chris Manning. That's Evan Dammarell. Let's talk about Luke Travers and some of the other names on the edge of this roster. Travers, Evan, I think, is very clearly on the path to being in the NBL in Australia next year.
Well, he didn't get signed to a 2-way contract. So
no, but it's just like his media availability was interesting because he wasn't like, yes, that's happening, but it was also like, yeah, if they want that, like I will do that. But like that's very just kind of clearly
okay with
what
not being like brought into Cleveland's ecosystem right away. Like he's very much like Khalifa Diop is like the same way where like I think they're fine with letting him marinate overseas and then possibly bringing him next year or the year after that.
Yeah, I think like one of the things that from talking to Bill about him that seems to be like there's hope he needs to bulk up. He needs to get on a more American like nutrition plan and get in weightlifting and like get bigger like that. I think they need his frame needs to fill in addition to figuring out how to shoot. His media availability though I thought was weirdly like by like 2 minutes longer than Agbaji's and longer than Mobley's, which was kind of interesting. Maybe just because the accent's charming or whatever. But let's hear from Luke Travers here and hear what he had to say at his media availability.
Also speed up at times and just kind of be there for his teammates as well on both ends as well. Yeah, I think that's the way it should be. Just focusing on Summer League right now, and then once we get that out of the way, I'm just looking to put my best foot forward through this Summer League, and then we'll go from there.
Would it be difficult for you to have to go back and play in Australia again?
No, I don't think so. at the end of the day, it's whatever the team wants, and that's what I'm willing to do. So if that's to go back and do another year, then it is what it is. And if it's to stay, then I'll do that as well.
So there you have Luke Travers. Interesting. I think his conversation was really interesting. He was pretty frank about, I think, what he needs to, what he does and what he does well. I don't know, Evan, what to expect from him, because it wouldn't shock me if he's not good to start.
No. If you break down his numbers at the NBL, he's not a good 3-point shooter. There's some point forward vibes from him just in terms of just being a bigger guard swing man for the Cavs. We were talking about Nembhard in the last segment. He very much is in a similar vein to Arjen Emmard, just maybe not the defensive acumen or the athleticism.
He's a little bigger, 6'8" with a 6'10" wingspan, which is that's a good place to start.
It's a good place to start, but he's not enough athletic. Like Chris said, he needs to get in an NBA regimented strength and conditioning program just to kind of bulk him up and just tone him out a little bit, because he's young. He's a little bit of unrefined, a little bit of an untapped gem. I think the cool thing is just the Travers in general. He's a player I'm going to be watching a lot, but I just think it is neat that Delly is so heavily involved that he shared with his media availability. He had no relationship with Matthew Dellavedova up to this point, but the moment he was drafted by the Cavs, Delly reached out and said, yo, man, if you need anything with the city or the organization, I'm your guy. I'm happy to help. It's cool to see some veterans kind of have this long lasting connection with the Cavs in general. But no, Travers is going to be interesting to me. He obviously will stick out just because of the mullet and mustache and the barbed wire tattoos and the Billy from Stranger Things comparison, who Arjen Emmard said his sister texted him saying, yo, did you guys actually draft Billy from Stranger Things?
Respect.
But at the same time, like you said, he's probably going to be rough to start. He apparently performed well in his pre-draft workout for the Cavs, at least according to Mike Garrity. He popped a little bit, and that's what made the Cavs so interested in him heading into the pre-draft, heading into the actual draft itself. But I don't have super high expectations, but I'm looking to see glimpses of what made him intriguing to the Cavs, and two, maybe these are things you can kind of watch for as he continues to grow and develop in the NBL. And in a year or two time, when he either comes to Cleveland or he becomes a trade chip for another team, what are his upsides? What are his intrigues? Could he be a decent enough third or fourth string guy, depending on where you want to plug him in certain scenarios, or just a guy who could kind of climb his way up the rotation, a la Matthew Dellavedova in summer league and training camp, annoying Kyrie.
Yeah, I'll be We'll see. I agree to see what he looks like in a year. Maybe we'll see what he looks like tracking from.
He's only 20, so he's still got to grow into his body. Evan Mobley, I don't know if people notice, he looks more like a grown man. I think that's my example. Yeah. You got
that. Okay, but I think comparing anyone to Evan Mobley is
Mobley looks bigger. And
yes, but I think being yes, the Evan
that's what I'm trying to say is if you get a guy in an NBA strength and development and conditioning program, they're going to grow naturally. And I think Travers has the body and has the physical tools. Like you said, he's a good foundation to build off of. Now it's just how much of it is he willing to build out so he can come stateside and play in the NBA.
Yeah, I think again, summer league a year from now, we'll see what his body looks like. We'll do a hashtag muscle watch with Luke Travers, and see what he looks and see if his shot improves and stuff. Evan, any other guys you want to talk about? I don't really have. I'm curious to see, they have some guys that were good in the G League last year. They have some guys that they think are potential projects that they hope to get in with the Charge, and we'll see how that works out. Cam Young is on their team. He was an absolute gunner for them in the G League last year.
The guy I'm interested. I spoke with Brendan Yu, the GM of the Charge, about him. We use him in a role similar Jordan Clarkson is utilized with the Cavs. The Wolf, so he could be Cleveland's Summer Wolf, I guess, or Coyote since they're in the desert. But I'm going to be keeping an eye on him. I think Ashton Higgins had a fall from being an elite prospect at Kentucky to barely not being in the league at all. So he could be a guy that maybe makes it on the training camp deal if he plays well enough. Obviously, going to be watching a lot of Agbaji. Malik Osborne is a guy we didn't really touch on, but he signed a UDFA deal with the Cavs out of Florida State. He definitely fits that mold of a bigger wing who is tough nosed on defense. So there's a little something there too. I mean, there's some interesting enough dudes. It's just I more so want to say this player, this player, this player, this player. If they get training camp invites, I'm all right. they probably have a shot to be on the charge because the Cavs maybe see something where they want to keep them in their in-house to kind of keep an eye on them and possibly develop them into rotational pieces down the line.
Yeah, I don't think they were particularly like thrilled with the quality of player on their G League roster last year. I think like there's some guys that like
had some good guys that they didn't have enough quality. Like they had Taco Fall, who was serviceable and like dominant in the G League, but serviceable at the next level. Like Kyle Guy was a marksman at the G League level and played well. Like had an appearance for the Heat, but like they need more of that, obviously.
Yeah. I think the thing I'm otherwise most excited about is take foul rule, baby. It's in. Let's go.
I thought of Chris, who probably like jumped up with his nightcap flapping everywhere, and he saw the.
I don't wear a nightcap.
You seem like a nightcap guy with like a little robe, and you carry your candle down the hallway. You knock on your wife's chamber and say, "Leanne."
What, Evan? What is this? Like, no, I'm not. I don't live in 1805, my guy.
1776. We'll just go with that. But I don't know. The boys this summer will be fun. I don't expect them to have like a huge summer league, but weirder things have happened. But,
they will be there. I think the minimum amount of time they need to be, and then they will go.
Especially if they shut down Agbaji early in this process, like 2 games in, they're like, all right, we're done.
Yeah. Here's the thing about summer league. You want to like get the benefits of it, and I think like I don't think everyone loves being there for like 15 days.
No. Like Vegas is, well, that's a Luke Travers said, because somebody said, are you going to go to the casino? He's like, I'm not 21, so I can't even enjoy Vegas. So like, I can't even properly enjoy Vegas, so they're just going to be sitting in a hotel.
Yeah, as someone who doesn't gamble and went last year, like I had to go to like a bookstore to like detox. Like I had to like, I just like was there 3 days. I was like, I need to like get out and like clear my, like I needed a break from like the smell of vapes and cigarettes.
You can't flex like Robbie Callan and say like, I'll hit you up after I get off the course.
No, did not get to the golf like Robbie, who I believe also brought his clubs this year. Him and Brad and those guys love Vegas in a way that I never will. And there's some people in the NBA that love Vegas. There's also some people that I know that are going that are like, I would like to be here the minimal amount of time.
One more thing I'm watching for, Aaron Baines is working out for teams tomorrow, and that'll be interesting to see how that goes because his story has been harrowing, and It's kind of cool to see him have a bounce back, and hopefully he can continue playing basketball again.
Yeah, so here's what's up next up for us. We'll see if Colin Sexton stuff happens this weekend. I think Saturday at the earliest feels like where that's headed. But
if not Saturday, Sunday at the earliest. If not Sunday, Monday at the earliest.
Yeah, like this will keep moving. I will post
contests, and we're gonna probably wait to see who blanks but first.
Yeah, I will do something on the Summer League game Friday, and throw something up in the feed for Saturday. So you'll have that. But yeah, it's summer. It's Cavs Summer League. It's here. Enjoy Agbaji. Enjoy Travers. Enjoy Isaiah Mobley. Enjoy Chet if he plays in Vegas, and Paolo and Jabari going against you. Like there is some fun stuff in Summer League.
One last question: do you think Cade Cunningham plays against the Cavs in their last Summer League game?
I don't know why. No, Cade should play like a quarter, if that, and just be done. It is silly that he's playing.
Like it's silly. Josh Giddey's there.
It's like less silly. It's like less silly because he wasn't like one of the 3 Rookie of the Year finalists. Like it's like smart that Evan Mobley is not playing.
Yeah.
There's no need. There's just no need.
All right. Well, that'll do it for us, folks. Have a good weekend. Stay cool. Have fun. Go see Thor if you can. Heard it's pretty fun itself.
Yeah. But, well, the proper exit here, Evan, is you want a good second listen today? Locked in NBA. Your NBA dives into the latest happenings in the NBA in 30 minutes or less. Check that out wherever you're listening to Locked On Cavs right now. And I would be remiss if I didn't say check out Locked On Browns. Check out Locked On Gardens for your local angles on those things as well. I think the Browns traded a quarterback. So there you go. All right. Be well. Have a good weekend. I will talk to everyone. I myself just be me Saturday morning about Cavs Summer League. So, yeah. Peace out, Boy Scout.